With the release of every Mario Kart game, a new mechanic or two are added to keep the gameplay fresh, fun, and unique. Some have only been in 1 or 2 games, and others have become serious staples. While I think every mechanic enhances the gameplay one way or another, which one is the best? Hey everybody, it's Jahanian here, and today we're going to be ranking each of the major mechanics added to each of the Mario Kart games. First, I want to explain what I mean by the major mechanics. Simply put, these are the mechanics added to the game that greatly change the gameplay or the tracks. So some like slipstreams and the addition of retro cups don't count, whereas gliders and anti-gravity do count. With that out of the way, we have 10 mechanics to count down, so let's get started. At number 10, we have the coin. Of all the mechanics we'll be covering, I think this is the worst one. In Super Mario Kart and Super Circuit, you start off with a number of coins, and every time you bump into an opponent or item, you lose some. At 0 coins, you'll spin out every time you're bumped. But of course, there are coins on the road for you to pick up to balance things out. This, however, isn't the issue. The problem actually lies in Mario Kart 7 and 8, where they're reintroduced. In these games, they boost your speed by a small percentage, maxing out at 10 coins. While I don't necessarily think it's a bad mechanic, it does have some issues, namely in 8 when they introduced the coin item. The coin item isn't that bad, but let's be real, you almost never want a coin. The coin is mainly given out to first place, and that isn't really a great idea. It ends up giving first place more speed, and the rest of the pack is stuck hitting each other and losing coins, giving first a larger advantage, even when they're hit. Even worse, at the start of the race when everyone is close together, the people up front are going to have an easier time grabbing coins on the track, while people in the pack are going to be struggling to get them. I feel like I see this happen often in 150cc. If they do bring back the coin, which I think they will, I think there should be more ways for the players in the middle and the back to grab them. I will say this isn't as big of an issue as I'm making it out to be, but I feel like we are fine without the coin. We don't really need it again. At number 9, we have the mini turbo. You could argue that mini turbos of all things don't belong on here, but I think they are a core mechanic that alter your gameplay. There have been a lot of moments where I hold my drift too long for an extra charge. First added in 64, holding your drift for a while will turn your dust from white to yellow to orange. Letting go of the drift while having the orange dust would get you a little boost. It doesn't seem like much in 64, but in every game afterwards they kept making it more and more satisfying to pull them off, with a blast in Super Circuit and sparks flying in every game after. In Double Dash and DS you got mini turbos by flicking your control stick or D-pad back and forth. And in every game after, it was just based on how long you held the drift. Heck, in 8 Deluxe they added the Ultra Mini Turbo, an extra charge that nets you purple sparks. I think this shows that no matter how old a mechanic can be, there's always more to add. It only places so low because despite it being used incredibly often and its usefulness, it doesn't feel like anything to write home about, especially compared to what comes next. For number 8, we have points and combos. Points and combos were added at the release of Tour, and I feel like I have to mention that because hardly anyone plays Tour. When playing a race, every action you make, whether it be tricks, hitting enemies with items, or drifting, got you points. At the end of every race, your points would get you 1 to 5 stars depending on how well you did. Perform a lot of actions in a row and you rack up combos. If you finish the race without ever breaking a streak, you get a non-stop combo. Personally, I think this is a pretty fun addition to the mobile game, and is what makes Tour fun for being a borderline auto-scroller. It's fun to choose the best character, carts, and gliders to get the best points. I think the only downside is if you don't have the correct characters, you can't get a lot of points, and that can be really frustrating. There are also leaderboards each week that pit you against other racers for rewards. I originally had this at number 9, but after going back to Tour and getting footage, I had a lot of positive things to say. Do I see this mechanic coming back in a future Mario Kart? Probably not. I could maybe see it being a single player mode like time trials, be able to get the most points and compare them with others around the world. I would like to see that considering I think Mario Kart needs more single player content. Other than that, I don't think it'll be coming to mainline Mario Kart in any way, but I would really love to see it. At number 7, we have the special items. Special items were originally in Double Dash and then added back to Mario Kart Tour. In Double Dash, each pair of characters had items that only they could use. For example, Mario and Luigi could throw fireballs, or Toad and Toadette could use golden mushrooms. In Tour, a larger group of characters had access to certain special items. Some items were exclusive to these specials and never returned otherwise, and they're some of the most interesting items in the series. Such as the Yoshi Egg, which breaks into more items, or the Hearts, which picked up items off the ground as you pass by. And some in Tour, like the dash rings you can throw ahead of you and boost through, or the hammers, which just throw hammers on the ground. The items aren't horribly unbalanced either. The only one that's broken is probably the triple shells from Double Dash. There's a reason we picked the Koopas in the speedruns. But the rest are pretty okay otherwise. They're an added incentive to use characters you probably wouldn't have any interest in otherwise, and maybe main character you wouldn't have liked otherwise. The special items also go pretty hand in hand with the next mechanic we'll be talking about, which brings us to number 6, 2 players in 1 cart. 2 players being able to ride in 1 cart is the thing about Mario Kart Double Dash. The whole game revolves around this gimmick, and it's okay. As I said before, this mechanic goes hand in hand with the special items. Being able to choose 2 different characters to play as lets you use a combination of different specials. As a kid, I loved being able to choose between 2 different characters and playing with the super unique carts this game has to offer. But if I'm gonna be honest, if you're playing by yourself, not much changes with this mechanic. In previous Mario Karts and the games after, you can already hold 2 items at once. Not all items, but you can hold like a banana behind you and get another item. The best part of this mechanic is co-op play. Having 2 players coordinate on one cart is super fun. Even more, this game has a LAN mode and you can play with up to 16 players on 4 different consoles at once. It's the most amount of players you can play at once in any Mario Kart, and I would kill to get the opportunity to try this. The reason it's ranked here is because of how iconic and unique it is. It's the only mechanic to appear in its debut game and never return. And it has a lot of charm. How fast the characters switch, being able to taunt or even punch other racers, and you can't forget your back player hanging on for dear life. All in all, it's a great mechanic, but all the cool stuff about it being locked to co-op is the biggest downside. I might get some hate for having tricks at number 5, but in my opinion, it's one of the most welcoming mechanics in the series. Whenever I go back to old Mario Karts, I can't help but jump off when going off rants because of it. It feels incredibly natural. It's like garnishing a dish. Like, these mashed potatoes are fantastic, but it's even better with the chives on top. I especially love the tricks that the Miis have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is also the first mechanic where the tracks are made with this mechanic in mind, like the half pipes in Koopa Cape, or even the retro tracks like Waluigi Stadium having parts added for tricking. While small, it's a neat and welcome addition to the Mario Kart series. It truly feels like family despite only being in the last 3 games. Alright, now we're getting to the meat of things. With number 4, we have Anti-Gravity, the main mechanic of Mario Kart 8. Personally, I think this one's pretty cool. Seeing the track in front of you bend and your wheels turning on their side, you knew you were in for something cool. It also came with spin boosting, where if you bump into an obstacle or an opponent, you'd get a boost. It's not that big of a boost, but it's still neat to hit a racer and get a boost off them and zoom by. However, I will say, this one wasn't utilized to its full potential. Only a handful of tracks had the majority of their time in anti-gravity, and a good chunk of them only have optional paths. And some feeling shoehorned in there like DS Wario Stadium. That's about the only complaint I have with it though. Anti-gravity has allowed for some of the most bizarre track designs, from driving up a waterfall or the branches of a tree to driving on the walls of a haunted house. This is bound to come back in future Mario Kart games, and I hope that they add more track ideas with this mechanic included. It's a great idea and I want more of it. At number 3, we have the Glider. The Glider is a fan favorite addition from 7. It allows you to take to the skies and fly down from great heights, or fly off a ramp to a higher location. It's fun and allows for unique track design. Not as much as anti-gravity, but I think it makes up for it, first by having multiple cool glider designs to choose from, and second, just being that good of an addition. Seriously, there are so many old tracks where you know glider sections would be cool to have, like the big jump in Royal Raceway. The Glider adds a scenic view to the environments of the track that I really like. One major downside that people complain about, especially during the tour era, are how glider sections are sort of shoehorned in, and I can kinda see where they're coming from. There are definitely times where I think, did we really need that, like in Cheeseland and Dino Dino Jungle? Or I think that's weird that some parts don't have glider sections. Like you're telling me I can't fly over the lame pinball table in Waluigi Pinball? Regardless, I think the Glider has far more upsides than downsides. It's a blast to have and a welcome stay in the Mario Kart series. Let's be honest, did you even remember the propeller? And no, I'm not talking about the suit from New Super Mario Bros. Wii, I'm talking about the kart part that allows you to drive underwater. While it doesn't do much, it makes up for it by having some of the best ideas for track designs like Dolphin Shoals or Wario Shipyard. The tracks that are majority underwater are mostly fan favorites. I know Cheep Cheep Lagoon and Water Park could be a little boring because they're in the Western Cup, but I lied, it's only Cheep Cheep Lagoon. Water Park is awesome. The underwater sections feel more natural than the anti-gravity sections and less shoehorned in than the gliders. As small of an addition as it may be, it's one of the best mechanics added to Mario Kart. But there's still one more addition to the Mario Kart series that I think revolutionizes the gameplay. And at number 1, we have kart customization. Being able to choose from unique karts has been in the series since Double Dash. In Double Dash and Wii, they let you choose from a set of karts based on your weight class, or from any kart in DS, but this isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the peak that was added in Mario Kart 7 of being able to choose from your main kart, a set of wheels, and a glider. Wow, despite all the crap I give 7, it did add some of the best mechanics. Anyway, it's awesome to have so much to choose from, and create cars that are anywhere from cute to cool to silly. I'd say the only real downside is maybe not being the most newcomer friendly. When I play with people who hardly know Mario Kart, they can spend a few minutes choosing from this menu. That minor complaint aside, Mario Kart 8 expanded on 7 and Wii by adding ATVs and sports bikes to their roster. With near endless possibilities of ways to drive around, with the karts, bikes, ATVs, and sports bikes, all influencing the way you drive, turn, and drift, I had to put it at number 1. Or you could be like me and choose Yoshi, Teddy Buggy, and Roller Wheels. I know who you are. Thank you all for watching. So what'd you think? Is there a mechanic that you'd have at the top spot, or do you think there was a major mechanic that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, or a dislike if you really like the coin. Check out my socials linked below. I use Blue Sky now, and I have a Twitch where I do Mario Kart speedruns and casual games on the side. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy Mario Kart content and want to see more in the future. I've been Johannian, and you have a good one. Peace. These mashed potatoes are fantastic.